a very fundamental problem. Unless you sell the right course to the right person, the outcome will not be created, right? But because you want to push your top line, you will keep doing that again and again. You will create certain sales and marketing solution which can do that, but ultimately it will not impact the learner in the right way.
And you would see a lot of mishaps that have happened in the past because of that the sector got overfunded, and because of overfunding, revenue, of course, was being chased, but did the revenue lead to any significant outcome for the customer? In the end, that is what the purpose of the business is, right?
So, welcome everyone. Today we have with us Sumesh, Nair, and Abhay Gupta. They are co-founders of Board Infinity. Board Infinity is India's fast-growing EdTech platform for students and job seekers. It is focused on in-demand and job-oriented upskilling. Sumesh holds a management degree from SPJ IMR Mumbai and has previously worked with PwC Management Consulting and New Sigma Analytics. We also have with us Abhay Gupta. Abhay is a serial entrepreneur. He has co-founded 2 companies in facilities management prior to his MBA from SPJN. After a brief stint with Future Group in category management, he joined Sumesh and co-founded Board Infinity. So welcome to you both, and thank you for agreeing to speak with us on RealE. I think we'll dive right in. What we wanted to hear from you is talk us through the inception story of Board Infinity, right? A little bit about your backstory, Sumesh, Abhay, and how did Board Infinity come into being?
Sure. Okay. Thank you, Rinku, for the introduction given to both of us and Board Infinity. I'll quickly tell a little bit around the inception story. I think this was 5, 6 years back, so around 2017 that we started. But for me, I think it would have started way back than that. Maybe when I was a young kid in college. मतलब you over a period of time you kind of realize that कि थोड़ा बहुत सोच डिफरेंट है, थिंकिंग डिफरेंट है, करने का तरीका डिफरेंट है. So when I was 17 years old, I actually started my first, let's say, side business or side hustle or whatever that has to be termed. वो कॉलेज में ही था. And I dabbled on multiple things, right from distributing laptops to students who come into colleges, to selling sims to them, to whatever that is the newest thing that is happening in terms of benefiting students, because those time students were my friends and my customers, I would call it. Even while I was in college, मतलब, especially in SPJN, एक clarity था कि I will probably go into consulting or an analytics kind of place if I want to really work in a company anywhere, right? So वहाँ पे भी I think when we were in PwC, actually PRTM, it was called PRTM then, and it was a very small company. It was a 60, 70 member team, right? So I really liked the interviews. I really liked the set of folks who were sitting there, and I feel like it will be a very fruitful exercise joining there, right? So, but after I joined, I also felt 2 things that probably this is not really what I wanted to do. And you probably want to run away from your destiny a lot, but finally the destiny reaches you type of moment ho raha tha, right? So I think in the year 2015-16, I gave it a very hard thought, right? So I mean, okay, you are able to work on something, achieve that in your career. You want to get into consulting, you did that, but eventually none of these things are making you happy. So what is that is genuinely trying to move you as a person? I think that was what was going in my mind all the time. And the honest answer is that once you discover that, then you commit to it. I mean,
And Abhay, what about you? You, I think, hustled into entrepreneurship even before your MBA. So how did Board Infinity happen for you?
So, I mean, as long as I can remember, I was an entrepreneur, right? From I think my 4 year or 5 year age. So I lost my father quite early, and I was staying at my maternal uncle's place. Okay, and I still remember कि मेरे नाना जी थे. He was a proper businessman, right? So he used to own a lot of shops in that area, and every month he used to give me one slip. And when I was, I think, in my first or second grade, right? So he will give me that slip and he'll ask me to go and collect rent, right? So there were about 25, 30 shops that he owned. हर महीने जाके वो collect करता था मैं rent, right? So वहां से start हुआ entrepreneurship का कीड़ा. And then post that we used to have medical store, grocery shops, and और मेरे को पता था कि मेरे को स्कूल में इतना मजा नहीं आ रहा है. I always look forward to Sundays because Sundays were the days जहाँ पे मैं सुबह जाके 6 बजे शॉप ओपन करके बैठता था, right? So that was the kick that was there right from beginning. And this was in, I think, a very remote tier 3, tier 4 kind of place, right? So this place is called Pirpa, which is closer to Kannauj, um, in UP, right? So वहां से start हुआ. And then I came to Kanpur for my higher education. So when I came to my engineering, 4 years, great journey. जैसे बोलते हैं कि अंधों में काना राजा, वैसा होता है ना कि आई वेंट टू टियर 3 टियर 4 कॉलेज, राइट? सो वहां पे जो लोग आए थे, फर्स्ट ईयर थोड़ा पढ़ाई किया मैंने, एंड आई वाज एबल टू एस लाइक फर्स्ट ईयर. So I realized कि यार यहाँ पे पढ़ के कोई फायदा है नहीं, बिकॉज आप थोड़ा सा पढ़ोगे आप नंबर लेके आ जाओगे. सो सेकंड ईयर ऑनवर्ड्स आई लाइक गॉट इनटू सो मेनी थिंग्स, एंड आई एम रियली थैंकफुल फॉर दैट एक्सपीरियंस, राइट? सो 3 years I tried a lot of things. um, Final year TCS came, was the first company, and I was able to get a placement also easily. इतना difficult नहीं था वहां पे. And then after getting into TCS I realized कि यार ये तो नहीं करना है. So I discussed with my mom कि यार लाइफ में कुछ डिफरेंट करने का मन है. तो उन्होंने बोला कि यार ठीक है, मतलब तुम, एंड दैट स्टेटमेंट अगेन, आई मीन, स्टिल इज वेरी क्लोज टू माई हार्ट. सो शी सेड कि यार एक काम कर, तेरे को लाइफ में जो करना है कर. फॉर नेक्स्ट 2 years आई विल सपोर्ट यू विद 10,000 rupees every month. एंड उसमें तुम जो कर सकते हो वो करो. दैट वाज अ ह्यूज, यू नो, comfort, because usually I was thinking that यार after engineering मेरी responsibilities towards my family, पैसा देना, ये करना है. So that gave me a lot of freedom. So 2.5, 3 years, I tried each and everything. That's a, whole podcast in itself. But we want to do something else in railways, but we ended up doing a lot of railway bridges, railway tracks, which was completely different to what I was, I had thought. But in that journey, I solved a lot of problem, right? So I did a lot of complex projects, which railway was not able to complete. Made decent money out of it also in some of the projects, and the journey was really fulfilling. So the entrepreneurship stint was throughout my journey. One more, interesting thing happened. So in my batch of engineering, I had around 1,000 people, right? So out of those 1,000 people, I think only 70 to 80 people were able to get job after the engineering, right?
Okay.
So that problem got stuck with me कि यार ये लोग ऐसे हैं जो, and बहुत सारे लोग उस टाइम पे ऐसे थे जो मतलब अपना फादर ने अपने जमीन जमीन रख के लोन लेके बच्चों को इंजीनियरिंग करने भेजा, राइट? एंड 4 साल में आई वाज लाइक वेरी क्लोजली एसोसिएटेड, सो आई वाज एबल टू सी दैट कि 4 साल में कुछ भी चेंज नहीं आया उनके, ना सॉफ्ट स्किल्स में ना हार्ड स्किल्स में, राइट? सो दैट फंडामेंटल प्रॉब्लम गॉट with me. And after engineering also I was in touch with those folks. तो मैं समझ पा रहा था कि यार उनके लाइफ में कुछ बहुत ज्यादा प्रोग्रेशन नहीं हो रहा है. lot of these people are trying for PO exam, some people are doing maybe something else, right? तो वो change नहीं आ रहा है. And then 3 years after engineering, SP Jain happened, and I came to SP Jain. I was a typical, let's say, uh, undergrad from tier 3, tier 4, and coming into, let's say, MBA tier 1 college, right? So, and I was able to see that कि यार बहुत सारा difference तो नहीं है लोगों में. Maybe people had better context, people had better opportunities, and because of that, they are able to, let's say, do better in their life, which my friends during my engineering are not able to do, right? So that problem got stuck with me, and I started, talking to a lot of people, and I was talking to one of the director in a tier 3 college, and he told me that, यार Abhay, the biggest problem is कि यहाँ पे जो फैकल्टीज है ना, वो फैकल्टी बाई चॉइस नहीं है. इनको कहीं पे जॉब नहीं मिली, वो आज आके यहाँ पे पढ़ा रहे हैं. तो आप स्टेट ऑफ एजुकेशन क्या एक्सपेक्ट करते हो? जो लोग खुद एम्प्लॉयबल नहीं है, अगर वो बच्चों को पढ़ा रहे हैं तो, राइट? सो हाउ डू यू एक्सपेक्ट पीपल टू बी मोर एम्प्लॉयबल, एंड राइट, सो ऑल दोस थिंग्स. सो and that is when I started thinking that, how can you solve the problem of, quality of education and outcomes and all those things. That is how it started. Board Infinity journey started, and then started talking to Sumesh, and that is how we started Board Infinity.
Very nice, very inspiring, and I think for both of you, the entrepreneurship was there from the beginning, which is a very different and very nice thing. And so coming to Board Infinity, Sumesh, I have a question for you. Board Infinity is described as a full stack career platform. So if you can tell us more about what this means and what's your business model and how big is Board Infinity today?
So see, if you look at career as for me, career is a continuum, right? Now I'll give an example of a student which is trying to get out of college, right? For them, I think 3 parts come there in terms of solving their main issue. One is a good level of awareness and discovery around careers, right? You talk to people who are in different colleges, they cannot name probably more than 5, 6, 7 careers, right? So one problem becomes career discovery and awareness for a student, I'm saying. Second level of problem for a student is that, okay, if I have become aware and I can discover the different kinds of career, how do I build skills around this, right? So that becomes the second problem to solve. And let's say the third level problem that they are trying to solve is that after going through this, can I get an internship or a job, which is my eventual aim of actually getting to, let's say, in a higher education institution, right? So what we mean by full stack is that you are able to derive outcome on all these three problem statements at some level. If I try to kind of make a domain kind of journey for you, अगर software development में या data analytics में, I can help you discover the career. So one of the products that we have is a career discovery test, which we developed over a period of 2.5 years, where you just answer around 30 questions. If you don't know what you need to do in your life, you have a clarity at least on the top three recommended job roles that you can take. Second is you're going to have a 40-hour content around learning skills in that particular job role. Let's say sales and marketing is what is, being recommended for you. You can actually learn skills on how to become a sales and marketing professional, right? The third is, can I bring in some recruiters who could actually hire you or for, let's say, internship or for a final offer?
So my second question coming to that, it was about your business model of Board Infinity and how big is Board Infinity now?
So business model. So see, when we started off, our business model was very simple. We used to partner with colleges. Colleges used to pay us. Sometimes the student used to pay us, but majorly it's been colleges. Then we opened up our direct to consumer arm where the students would directly pay, or the working professionals in 0 to 3 years would directly pay. Meanwhile, last year we also acquired a company which is into the executive education side. We work with people who are middle managers and senior executives who are aspiring to become, let's say, CXOs or CXOs minus one. So there we charge directly from the consumer. So these are diploma programs which is out there, right? So business model wise, there is a B2B-ish nature to it on the early career side, and on the late career side, it's more B2C.
Okay. So Sumesh, I have actually a lot of questions on that part subsequently, but I'll quickly ask one more questions to you, and then so it is about how big is technical upskilling, because you are in that space, and what is the demand for tech in talent in India, and since you are also collaborate with both education institute as well as corporates, right? So where do you see the gaps and opportunities? Maybe a quick bite from you on this.
So if you look at technical upskilling, if you look at a bottom-up market sizing, around 3.6 crore students are enrolled in higher education every year. I think it's just slowly touching around 4. And the target that we have put in our gross enrollment is that we want to do 2x of this in the next 10 to 12 years.
Correct.
So, and in that, I think technical courses, when I say pure play technical courses, would come to around, I think, hardly 10% to 20%. The largest segment is arts, then followed by science and commerce. And we think BTech is a very high segment, but from a pure number perspective, it's not. But the people who are choosing, let's say, a BTech or a professional course, as we call it, the ability to pay and the ability to get to an outcome in your career is extremely high. So by virtue of that, the willingness to pay for any technical skilling course to get to an outcome is actually very high. That's the base you can overall target for upskilling for a person who's getting out of higher education, right? But you have these set of customers sitting in the 1 year of their workforce, 2 year of their workforce, 3 year of their workforce. So if you add all these things together, so my sense has been that you have more than at least 10 million people at any given point of time whom you can target for just pure play technical upskilling.
Okay, if
so
you can just
that is one. Yeah.
Also touch upon the demand side, from the point of view of the corporates where there is a gap in the technical talent. So if you have some view there also.
So corporate side, if you look at it, open jobs across categories, we'll have to check. So if data science, any given point of time, I think more than 50,000 to 1 lakh jobs are available. If you look at IT, I think it would be another 3x, 4x of that, or maybe more than that. So if you look at from a corporate standpoint, the majority of all these hiring is happening. 20 to 30% of hiring would definitely happen at the fresher stage, or maybe slightly more. So significant volume of hiring every year happens in India on the freshers hiring space. And of course, colleges are trying to solve this, and then players like us are trying to help colleges solve this. or we are trying to solve this after they are graduating from colleges and they don't have jobs, right?
Mm. Got it. And I think a follow-on question maybe to you, Abhay, is that we realize that the market is big, right? But at the same time, the market is also highly competitive in terms of you have large players like an academy, Coursera, Upgrad sitting there, to even smaller players like individual coaching centers and individual tutors are also plentiful. So in this crowded space, how does Board Infinity differentiate?
One is I would like to break EdTech into maybe 3 or 4 different subsegments. So one is your K-12. That is where I think not an academy, but maybe a lot of other EdTech players like your Byju's and all are physics wala and all are positioned. Then you have people, those who are trying to help people on the higher education side. So you'll have players like your Upgrad, and a lot of other players are also getting their, setting up their higher education arm. And then the third is your upskilling, right? So our presence right now is on the higher education part and the upskilling part, right? So our collaboration happens a lot with colleges. Um, Predominantly, we are focusing on management colleges. So idea is that how can we work with engineering and management colleges and can help them run their degree programs better for better outcomes, right? So that is what we are collaborating right now. Um, Secondly, with regards to the question on the competition part, again, I think the market is very huge. Is still education tech players or local players are still trying to figure out ways of solving this problem more efficiently. In the last, couple of years, COVID has shown us that, huge amount of growth has happened, but still, if you look at it, the problem is still very far from being solved. So we need more deeper solutions, more student-centric solution, which can solve this problem in a better way, right? So that is how we look at it. Our focus again has been, solving this problem full stack, as Sumesh also mentioned, right? So right from helping student or learner get better orientation towards their career, right? So one of the problem that a lot of edtech player, has done is they have sold data science or tech programs to everyone. But the reality is that one, everybody will not like those careers. I mean, they look very lucrative, right? But not everybody will like it. Secondly, the aptitude wise and skill set wise, they will not be aligned for that, right? So first level problem is that how do you help somebody identify the right career role for them? Then secondly, you help them identify the skill gaps, provide them solution which can help them more prepared on this. And then last part is your job wala part, right? In the last couple of years, everybody was focused just on selling upskilling programs because it sounded sexy to sell tech program, make more data scientists, more software developers, which that does not solve the problem. And you see a lot of, burnt on that particular piece. So competition wise, I don't think we have any challenge. Collaboration wise, as I mentioned, we are focused on working with higher education colleges primarily and solving problem there at a fundamental level. That is our core focus.
And help us decipher the tech element in ed, right? I believe a lot of education is being disrupted with advanced techs, and specifically artificial intelligence is playing a big role in personalized learning as well. And Board Infinity is one of the pioneers in that space. So can you tell us a little bit about your AI-centric features and platform?
So, COVID time with the EdTech tech was only that you were connecting people online, right? So it was either live online or self-paced. So anybody who has a capability to host LMS and do things online, they were calling them EdTech, right? But that has become more of a hygiene right now. Okay, so I don't think if you actually look at it, a lot of these EdTech companies which call them EdTech will qualify for becoming an EdTech or not, right? So that's a question that we need to look for. But secondly, you will see, when we started Board Infinity, the problem was how can you enable fulfilling careers for people, right? Don't only solve a local problem, which is maybe helping somebody get upskilling or maybe help somebody get a job or right. So, but we were always right from day one, we were focused on solving this problem for a long-term basis and solving in full stack. And AI plays a very critical role, right? So there are a couple of sub problems that you want to solve while you are doing it, right? One is that you give them better context and orientation, right at the source level. Let's say if a guy who is in BTech second year coming to us, helping them identify what career role that you should take. It's a very complex problem, right? So, and if I go deeper into that, You want to look at multiple variables, right from their personality, their education background, their skill set, market dynamics, right? Look at success stories in the market, right? So, and then you build a complex algorithm which can recommend them maybe 3, 4 careers, which could be optimal for that person. That's the first problem, right? So, let's say if somebody is coming into education and they have that context here, maybe after final year, I will be getting into maybe 2 or 3 of these careers, so I can optimize my journey in that direction rather than being clueless about what I will end up getting, right? So you have better context and better orientation. Second is, once you've identified कि यार मेरे को यहाँ मैं पहुंच सकता हूँ. Second is identifying कि what are the skill gaps that I have. So let's say if I want to become a data analyst at X kind of company, so what kind of hard skills are required? What kind of soft skills are required, right? So you map out that journey for the user, which could be super personalized, understanding their content consumption pattern, understanding their knowledge gaps, and all those things, right? So the second problem that you want to solve. Once that second problem is solved, the third problem is that out of maybe those 3 or 4 domains that you were trying to optimize for, which are those exact job role which I can get into at the later part of my journey. So let's say in final year, you would like to optimize which role, which company, and all those things, and how prepared I am for that, right? What are the gaps that I have? And you solve for that particular piece. So this is the problem that Code Infinity wants to solve. And we have done a lot of AI intervention in the last 3 to 4 years, not like a 1 year journey. But after, let's say, the boom in generative AI in last couple of quarters, our overall effort has fast paced, and we are able to see tremendous amount of work happening on the generative AI side internally in Code Infinity also, right? One product that we are trying to build right now is called a generative AI based bot, which we call VERA, virtual education recruitment assistant, which could be like a companion to the student throughout their education or career transition journey. Yeah, so one of the things that we're excited about, doing is, can we help colleges build more meaningful and productive 2 year MBA journey, right? So अभी क्या होता है कि when you get into an MBA, you are in a herd race, right? If you want to in a tier 1 or tier 2 college, you know that everybody is running after certain kind of rules, and you run after that, right? And then every semester or every trimester, you are bombarded with maybe 4 or 6 subjects. You don't know how to prioritize, what to choose, what not to choose, and how to learn, right? So all those things. So one problem that we are trying to solve right now is that, can you help maybe optimize for 2 year MBA journey or a 4 year BTech journey, solving for better context to the student, make it super personalized, right? And help colleges solve the quality of faculty also, and all of these things will be happening through VERA. So that particular piece that we are trying to solve.
Very nice. Because I strongly feel, Abhay, when you mentioned 4 years, 2 years, these are actually a very good amount of time for actually transforming one into a particular career. However, a lot of time of ours is spent in the noise, which we probably do not want to focus on. So so very, very valid point. So coming back to Sumesh on the success stories, if you can also share some, success stories around job seekers or students and who have benefited from board Infinity platform.
This is one of our learners. This is a coach which probably has interacted with that person for a longer period of time, and this is a kind of outcome that we create. So if you look at the college type, this college is a tier, I would say, very upcoming college, right? It's not an unknown college. Everybody knows IMT Nagpur, right? So it's a very good college. Now that is one level of outcome. That is, how do you get outcome for folks who are in an NIR of, let's say, 50 or 100 kind of ranking institutions, and we have many such clients, and we are one of, not to boast, but we are the number one actually in the management space for the NIRF top clients. Like for example, if I look at BML Mujal in Gurgaon, some kind of outcome that we have been trying to create, and how we have done with the particular expert. Similarly, somebody who is in a newer IIM, the kind of outcome that happened for that particular person in terms of, so these are all I would classify as great outcomes for great people. When I say great people, people who have been academically smart, cracked the best exams, went into some of the best colleges, and trying to influence outcomes there. This is a bunch of outcomes which actually is more and more getting into the real part of India, right? When I say real India, maybe not the best of the conditions for them to get to the right colleges, maybe lack of awareness. Third, who would not want to migrate to even a great college to study and would want to stay at their own, let's say, nearby open universities or community colleges or local colleges or state government colleges to do that, right? So I think directly or indirectly, our last 5 years we would have gone through more than, I think, anywhere between 1 lakh to 1.5 lakh paid users. I'm not talking about normal users. Paid users could be colleges paying for it or the students directly paying for it, and roughly, directly or indirectly, some transition wise, through colleges pushing them through and ourselves, we would have maybe impacted 30,000, 40,000 career transitions easily. I think one of the key parameters that we look at every program that we launch, every engagement that we try to do is that are we really trying to influence outcomes? Even with our best of the best higher education clients, we talk about conversions around job roles. Are we able to influence that? What is the conversion that is happening? Are there companies that we can bring in? So training is definitely happening. We are judged for our training, etc. But we add on in terms of how are we improving conversions? Is it really helping the students or not? Right. So
While it is very satisfying, because one of the important satisfaction factor is here we are able to create that difference for the society and for the people in their life, and if you can make them earn something for their family, you're actually feeding a lot of people. So that's a very inspiring and a very satisfying journey. So I want to touch, Sumesh, here more financial angle here. So if you can touch upon now in this space of edtech and in this skilling sector, we have seen significant influx of a lot of investments, right? So if you can share your insights into the funding journey of Board Infinity and how critical is financing uh, growth in this sector, or finance availability in this sector for the growth.
okay, so I don't think startups can grow without having. I mean, you need to have some capital, but I also think that you don't need to have extreme amounts of large capital to grow a business. I mean, it just doesn't make sense after a point unless you are investing in deep technology and other things, right? So, for our journey around funding, it's been around 15 crores that we have raised till now. And we acquired an entity to enter the executive education. So they would have raised around 3.5 CR. So that's the total capitalization in terms of equity. And that is what we have primarily raised. And then we take debt or working capital solution to manage
Mm.
for the working capital, etc. Right? So that's been our fundraising journey till now. Just to give you a background, typical fund cycles are between 5 to 10 years, average being between seven. Average, I think, is 7 to 8, right? So, but I've seen that education businesses don't mature that fast. So, in the process of exiting out an investment, the only way to exit out an investment in a great way is to push on your revenue. And if you
Mm.
keep pushing on your revenue all the time, you would take in customers like Abhay was saying that you would take a person who was not fit for data science into your data science program because you have to meet your target.
Mm.
Eventually, you won't lead to outcomes. You won't create a brand, and you would see a lot of mishaps that have happened in the past because of that. That the sector got overfunded, and because of overfunding, revenue, of course, was being chased, but did the revenue lead to any significant outcome for the customer? In the end, that is what the purpose of the business is, right? I mean,
Yeah,
especially in education, you're not selling vegetables, you're not selling cupcakes, you're
I think
selling.
yeah, I think that is why a lot of people, started saying that we are not outcome driven. They're like, we are just killing. I have seen at least a lot of these big names there. They were not at all reporting outcomes. They were
Yeah,
all.
they it is very difficult also. So that is why I'm saying that for us, I think in hindsight, if I look at it, I mean, we have raised money from micro funds and a lot more HNIs, but they are all patient capital. When I say patient capital, I mean, we have told them that, you folks have to sit back and relax. When we, as founders, when we are exiting out, you will exit out, right? So you don't have to worry about it. And but that is not the nature of all the capital which is sitting out in funds. And, that is their business model. You can't change it. But over a period of time, I have seen a couple of funds who are thinking long term in terms of education bets. So we do speak with them. We continue to engage with them. And for us, it's very important the kind of capital that we bring onto the cap table. That is more important than how much alone we are trying to raise. Because see, anyway, as a company, I mean, from a pure return of investment perspective, for a return on capital perspective, we have some of the best revenue metrics for the the capital that we have raised, and we have spent at least good amount of money, around 6 to 8 crores on our tech and product, and that is something which is really able to differentiate us out in the market.
Mm.
Like we are able to pioneer because we are spending there, right? And also we believe that the more you can learn how to build a business without raising a lot of external capital, the more healthier you become over a period of time.
Very true.
So
Very true.
Okay, so I guess in the interest of time, I also have to hit on a few more questions. One interesting question that we ask to most of our RealE guests is, see, entrepreneurship is a journey of highs and lows, right? So tell us a little bit about the challenges that you have faced that others can learn from.
I think one of the realization that I have had in the last couple of years is that I mean, if you specifically look at startups right now in India, people make very layered solutions, which we believe that is solving the problem, but in reality it is not, right? So you have certain local metrics of your business which you want to optimize for, and you build business to optimize that, but in reality it is not making the kind of impact that should be creating, right? um, and similar thing have happened in edtech or upskilling also, right? So unless you, it's a very fundamental problem. Unless you sell the right coach to the right person, the outcome will not be created, right? But because you want to push your top line, you will keep doing that again and again. You will create certain sales and marketing solution which can do that, but ultimately it will not impact the learner in the right way, and which will create a lot of baggages, right? So that problem, I think, 1.5, 2 years we were trying to do that, and we realized that something fundamentally has to change. And that particular problem, I mean, that we have built like a very core thing in our offering, right? So, and we are focusing on that particular piece right now. At a personal level, I think, yeah, I mean, you keep facing issues around your, constant motivation, your hunger to keep building, right? And you have target for yourself also, which you feel that quarterly or maybe annual basis is not being met, right? So, and then you always go back and you take inspiration from the source, right? So having that clear purpose of why you are doing this business is something which is very important. Because if money is something that you want to optimize for, fame is something that you want to optimize for, there are different ways in which you can do that at a maybe lower risk or lower cost also. But if you want to create a deeper impact, if that is something which you have clarity, then I think the journey becomes very fulfilling.
Your views?
so list is very long, but yeah, I mean, so I'm generally I would call it a static person. When I say static person कि बहुत highs होता है, ऐसे नहीं कि चलो आज बहुत पार्टी करते हैं नहीं कि भाई काम करते हैं. जब बहुत lows होता है भी, it's been like that you just work on things which really matter. So whatever that learnings that I've got is that more than lows and highs is around, if at all you are touching something to do, what is the, let's say, third order consequence of that, not even second order, that what is going to happen, what is going to happen, what is going to happen. So you're just trying to move so fast into the future around any decision that you're trying to take, like any program launch, any product, any this thing. And we've been taking so hard calls around certain products right now, is that okay, this is not going to work out in the next 1 year. We pause, we don't invest heavily into that.
So I have one question to both of you. Maybe one quick first, Abhay, you can answer this. Is what would be your advice or guidance to say young entrepreneurs who are probably looking or are at fence or looking to launch their startup or early into their entrepreneurial journey? So one advice from you, and then Sumesh, you can also answer this.
I think two things. One is be extremely clear why you are doing this. Don't do this because you see a lot of good news on your story or economic times, people getting funding and all those things, right? So that is just a part and parcel of the game. Have that clarity really well, and how you want to set it up as well. Second, I feel that if you're trying to play it for long term, and you will eventually be paying for long term if you want to create something impactful. ensure that you have a strong support system also, which could be your family, your friends, because I mean, if you don't have that support, the journey becomes very difficult. So these two things.
The clarity on why you want to do is very important. And the clarity can be that, you want to make like a 3 year journey, I'll make this much money and get out. Super clarity, right? The clarity could be that I am trying to create impact and I'll make financial outcomes also as part of it. The clarity could be that I will not make financial outcomes. I'll, do it just for impact, right? So it all will boil down to what am I trying to build? What is the clarity I have?
So Ringo, from this conversation, I'm getting a phrase, 50 shades of entrepreneurship. Maybe our next segment we can do. Okay. So one last question probably. We asked, the channel name is RealE, where we speak to real people about their real stories, and really also in speak in that terms, really, what is your really moment? Really is like your aha moment.
Recent aha moment was, I think at the product level, we took some pivots in the last couple of quarters, and we had invested a lot in building the stack, and we thought we can white label and probably give it to other education tech players or colleges also. And one of the large corporate HR was on the discussion of the demo of the platform, and that person said, "I love the platform," and and it's a very, very large organization, right? So that is something which is a very strong validation check that you have not built something which is
Very nice.
not something which is very meaningful. Yeah.
Thanks, Abhay, for this. Sumesh, your aha moment, really moment.
For me, I think personally, the aha moment was that I could discover last 7-8 months that my ability to travel is extremely high, touching around 80 flights this year. I was like taking back to back to back to back travel, and I just realized that in the institutional business, uh, nobody would read your email, nobody would read your WhatsApp message, nobody would read your let's say or maybe pick up your phone call or do that, but really, if you are sitting in front of them, things move, right? And to do that, there is nothing that you can do except for sitting in front of them.